Okay, how we doing today, everybody? So I wanted to make a video that really breaks down how you can go from skinny fat to beach body in 90 days. And this is going to be chock full of a lot of information that is going to tell you how you can tactically build the habits necessary to take you from skinny fat to beach body. And the reason why I'm so focused on the habits, because you can learn those habits within 90 days. And those are the same exact habits that you can use to build a beach body that you feel confident in, whether that means losing fat, building muscle, a combination of the both, and more. And the reason why we're focusing on the first 90 days is because that is the period of time that it really takes to solidify these habits ultimately. The first, well, I'll get into like how we break that down in a little bit here, because the first 30 days is the most important. The first 90 days is really where you're going to start to see some changes and hit your stride. And then we'll talk about what happens thereafter to continue to maintain the body that you build or continue to build towards something greater if you have really high standards and want to crush something. Because ultimately, that's always my goal whenever I'm working with anybody. It's not just to get you to your end result. It is how can we get you there sustainably and create a lifestyle ultimately, or embed fitness into your lifestyle. So then that way you can maintain it. Right. And so this is going to be chock full of lots of tips that I give directly to my clients that have helped them to make some awesome transformations, as well as things that I've used for myself as well here too. Okay. So real quick, just want to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Troy Duffy. I'm assuming that you've gotten here because you've seen my content on Instagram or something along those lines. And ultimately, I used to struggle a lot with, let's just say, how I looked. Keep it really vague, right? Because I was the type of person that was always pulling my shirt off. I hated sitting down because then my fat rolls would bunch up, pardon me, and it made me feel really insecure about myself. So I've been on a really long journey now to get to where I am right now, which is the guy that you see adjusting his hat and his hair on the right there or left. And so really where it started was a lot of mistakes, because I did a lot of the common things. I cut carbs. I did too much cardio. I was counting, but I wasn't counting accurately because I wasn't measuring. I was working out, but I wasn't focused on proper form. So old injuries kept popping up. There's a lot of things that I did wrong. And I did like 2-a-days. I never took rest days. Like I went for it, had all the effort, but didn't have the results that I really wanted. And so through trial and error and eventually becoming a personal trainer, that is how I was able to build a system that allowed me to build the body that I wanted and feel confident in, but has helped other clients to do the same. Right. And so with this method, I called it the Beachbody method. I like Beachbody because everybody has a different image of what that beach body is, right? I'm not here to tell you you need to have abs like I have in that picture. I'm not here to tell you that you need a massive chest or arms. I'm here to tell you that what you're going to learn today is going to help you to build whatever body you want. Because my biggest thing is like, how can I empower you to have the knowledge necessary to build what you want to build, right? The same as if you want to save for something and buy a house. Like there's principles you might learn from a financial advisor, but ultimately once you're rolling, once you have that momentum, once you have good practices, you don't need their touch in everything that you do anymore, right? That's what I'm after at the end of the day here today. Okay. So really what we're after is losing 20 plus pounds while building lean muscle and maintaining it for life. And the big things for me too is without giving up your favorite foods, stressing about social outings, or making the gym your whole life for personality. Because even though it is a big part of mine, I got a lot of stuff I like to do. Most of those things are active. That's just me, right? I'm not telling you that that's what you need to do, but that's just a little bit about me and who I am today. Now, come on. There we go. Now, one key transformation I want to focus on today is my man, Daniel. He crushed it in my program. Now, to be honest, he actually bulked up to that picture that's on the left right there, and then we trimmed back down. Now, where he ended was always his end goal, but he felt a little skinny and wanted to put on some muscle first. And simultaneously, we also used that time to work on building some good foundational habits when it comes to his training style. He's already a very active guy, but he needed to fine tune some things. So we spent some time working on that. And then this was it was genuinely a 3-month transformation for him to lose about 20 pounds. But the biggest thing for him was getting under that 12% body fat. And he was gaining strength this entire time because we laid that foundation. And I'm going to talk about that here today. Now, other key thing that I want to keep in mind here is I know a lot of us like, I'm too busy for this. I got a career, I got a family, I got all these things, right? Daniel was no different, right? He's married. He's building a family. He's got a high-end role, a senior role, something like that at Meta. It was Facebook at the time, Meta now. Also, during this time, he was reconstructing his house that him and his wife had just bought and playing professional Frisbee, which I think is really cool and did not know was a thing until I started working with him. So this dude had his plate full and he was still able to crush this transformation. Yes, it takes planning. Yes, it takes work. We're going to talk about how you can do that. And I will always say it's going to take more work up front, but once you get a rhythm, once you get momentum, once you get some habits down, it becomes streamlined. I like that word. All right. So key thing before we really dive into this today is like, I just want to let you know whether or not this is for you, right? Right out the gate. This method it is. This method, but also like, yeah, just this method. So this is for you if you want to lose 20 plus pounds, even and feel more confident shirtless. If you're stuck in a fat loss or muscle building plateau, so maybe it's just 5 more pounds that you're looking to lose. Maybe you just want to be able to bench 225 finally, or whatever that number is, right? This is also for you if you've tried quick fixes and have gained it back, yo-yoing a little bit. That was me when I was in that state of, no carbs, burning as many calories as possible, and ultimately just not really getting closer to the body shape that I wanted. I got lighter, right? I built a bit of endurance, right? But I didn't have that look that I was after at the end of the day. So that's what we're going to talk about. And if you're too busy for complicated programs, right? I'm going to keep this as simple and, like I said, streamlined as possible. That's like going to be my new favorite word. So that's really what it's after. But also I want to point out, like, even if you don't have 20 plus pounds to lose, maybe you're got 10 plus pounds, maybe you're like, I don't really need to lose weight, but I just don't look the way I want to look. And I just want to change my look and look a little bit more like Daniel did, or I did at the end of it. Cool. This is for you. But I'll be honest, this is not for you if you're not willing to try something new. Right. Or just be told that what you're doing right now isn't right, AKA being coached, right? Because that's part of what coaching is. It's like, hey, this right here can be improved upon. This is how you need to do it. And that's all I'm going to be telling you today. These are things that you can do right now to improve upon your process, your approach to your fitness. And yeah, if you're not willing to accept that maybe there are some things that you could be doing better, this isn't for you, right? And yeah, again, with coaching, same deal, right? If you want a quick fix without putting in the work, this isn't for you, right? And like a lot of people these days are like, oh, like those are Ozempic people. Look, for the right person, Ozempic's not a bad thing, but you still got to build the right habits, right? So even if you are using Ozempic for whatever reason or something, or peptides or whatever, like you still need to create the foundational habits. That those don't excuse that. If you think that they are, then you're gonna yo-yo. You're not gonna get the results. So even if you are doing those things because of X, Y, and Z reason, it's not my fucking body. It's not my problem. It's not my right to tell you what to do. But I do know for a fact that if you don't build the right habits along with whatever it is that you're sticking that vial and needle, that needle in your ass for, right, you're not going to get there, right? This isn't for you if you can't invest 4 to 5 hours a week in your training and nutrition. All right. And like, look, I think that I don't care how busy you are. I don't care how many kids you have. I don't care how big your business is and what you have going on. I can guarantee there is somebody that is busier with a bigger business and a bigger family that has a better body than you. It's honest, right? So be honest with yourself and just say, maybe you don't want it that bad. That's fine. That's also fine, right? You do need a certain level of health to be able to enjoy the most of what you can with your life, AKA your health span, which is completely different from your lifespan. And we can talk about that at a different time. But at the end of the day, everybody has a couple hours a week or 4 to 5 hours a week to be able to spend. And if you don't think you do, audit your time. Look at your schedule. How well do you actually stay on task? Look at your screen time that you get every Sunday. How much time are you wasting on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, on whatever these apps are, right? So take that into consideration. I guarantee you can find the time there if you don't feel you have it already. And the last thing is, I don't want to surround myself with people that don't want to grow as a person. Every single day for the rest of my life, I plan on trying to be a better person. And if you're somebody that thinks that you're as good as you're going to get, or we're better later, like, that's not a fun life, one, in my opinion, and two, like, stop the video here. All right, so here we go. Let's dive into it. Now, let's talk about, I'm really thirsty. I'm sorry. right, so let's talk about like what are the truths about building a beach body, right? Now, most people think that it takes complicated workout programs, meal plans, the freest, openest schedule that there is, no responsibilities. But in all real lifestyle, that's not really it at the end of the day. Sure, some of those things can make it easier. I'm not going to deny that. But you can lose fat and build muscle without changing your lifestyle. Whatever it is right now, I guarantee you would be shocked at some of the people that I've helped change. Uh, and really, the reason, though, that most people don't build that beach body is because they don't understand one or all of these three things. Okay. So the first is what's a priority when it comes to nutrition? What do you need to have? When do you need to have it? But that doesn't mean that you're obsessing over the details. That just means that you have a plan of how you're going to get your protein in for the day, right? What are you going to have before you work out? What are you going to have after you work out, right? Do you need to spread your meals out throughout the day so in that way you don't feel full while you're in a deficit? Do you need to delay breakfast a little bit so then that way you don't have food noise until you break your fast and you start eating, right? I don't call that fasting. I just call that a strategy for if that helps you not think about it in the morning and just get your day going, and then you can start a little bit later. Yeah, that can help at the end of the day. Do you need to have no sweets? Do you need to save a little bit of sweets? Do you need one cheat meal that you plan for every weekend, right? What is it for you, right? And that's a big thing that I am always about helping my clients with is like, what are the strategies that make sense for you? If you have a coach that's trying to tell you there's one way you need to do this, then they are trying to fit you into a box. You are a human being. You are a circle that can grow in any direction you want. You're not a box. All right. So don't allow yourself to get pushed into one. All right. So that's what we need to focus on when it comes to nutrition. Efficient training too. Like most people don't understand like how to work out smarter and not longer, right? I made a big mistake I made, and I see a lot of people do this. They think they need to spend more time in the gym. But if you're smart and efficient with what you're doing when you're in the gym, you only need 45 minutes to an hour, right? You need other movement outside of that. And there's different ways in which we can get that in, which I'll cover a few of them today. But again, that's something I can talk about specifically for you. But ultimately, you need to be smart. And that includes form, that includes intensity, and that includes frequency, right? Now, the last thing is how to make it actually work with your lifestyle, right? Because like, again, I keep talking about you can do this while merging it with your lifestyle. And you're like, well, show me, Troy, right? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about it today. But really what it is again, it comes down to planning. Like that is the one theme that is going to help you to be successful. But that's not just in fitness, right? If you've accomplished any goal in any other area of your life, I can guarantee you've gotten good at planning. And so that's a big piece of how we make it fit with our lifestyle. But having the right knowledge is going to help too. So there's four pillars that we need to focus on ultimately to help you to build this body, right? So now when it comes to nutrition, there's a lot of ways that it can be very complicated and very complex. There's a lot of nuances to it. There's not just 3 macronutrients. There's multiple micronutrients. There's 20 amino acids that are in protein that we need to take into consideration, right? Like there's a lot that we could talk about when it comes to nutrition. When it comes to building a body, what you only need to focus on, at least out the gate, is calories and protein. And the reason why I'm emphasizing this so much is because part of the thing is when it comes to that last piece I talked about, what and when do you need to focus on for nutrition? Most people focus on how healthy is the food. Most people focus on, honestly, how healthy is the food? And it's the stupidest thing to focus on because you can have something that is labeled and marketed as healthy or something that's actually healthy, like an avocado. But when you understand the nutritional value of an avocado, or of something that's labeled as healthy, like a perfect bar, then you will understand that those should not be in your diet in mass quantities. Maybe a little bit, maybe here and there, right? But you shouldn't be relying on these things. You shouldn't be saying, oh, well, I'm eating healthy. That doesn't matter when it comes to building the body that you want, because 4,000 calories is going to make you build fat, even if it's 4,000 or gain fat, even if it's 4,000 calories of spinach. All right. So what you need to focus on is you need to focus on the daily calorie and protein target. And a sidebar that is super helpful is fiber, right? And the only reason why I say that is because it helps keep you full, helps keep you regulated, which you're going to want when you're eating more protein, especially if you're not used to it. So those are reasons why we want to keep in fiber. All right. And two, it's usually a lower caloric intake for most fibrous things. So here's the things that I would say that, well, here's just what I have my clients do when I work with them. Okay. And this is what I would recommend. This is part of what you're doing in the first 30 days. So the first week, just log everything that you're already eating. Don't try to hit a number, right? Use a TDEE calculator. I'll say it again, a TDEE calculator. Go online. You can find plenty of them. That'll help you to find your calories. And then for protein, you want to be 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Say that again because I hiccuped. 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Okay, that is your range for protein. Hit the minimum of it. Aim for the top though, because protein's going to be filling. It's going to burn more calories at rest. And not all proteins are created equally. So if you shoot a little bit higher, maybe if some of the proteins that you're having are complete proteins and aren't the most digestible proteins, then you're kind of giving yourself a little bit of a wiggle room. All right. But those are the parameters that you want to keep in mind to help you set your calorie and protein goals. Okay. So log everything that you normally eat for a week. Once you've done that, then there's a few different things that you can do to go ahead and lock down your nutrition. The first one is just go in there, and a lot of times you can just find, once you've logged it all in like a MyFitnessPal or Macro Factor, you can go in and you can look and you can say like, oh, well, I probably shouldn't have had that. I can have this instead. This will be higher protein too. I can cut that out and add this in because that's less calories. You're going to see some things that you can already do. So one, just use your own 2 cents to do that. Two, if you have certain foods that you do like to eat regularly and keep them in your diet, you can look up higher protein, lower calorie options on Instagram, right? There's a million different recipes these days. Go save some and actually try them. Okay. Put it in your calendar. Just take 15 minutes to try them tonight. Put it in your calendar. This Friday night, I'm going to try one of them for date night with my significant other, right? Or something like that makes sense for you. And the last thing too is you can use an AI like ChatGPT or something like that just to go in and say like, hey, these are the foods that I normally eat. Give me options that are high protein, low cal options to be able to do this. And then with ChatGPT or an AI system, once it has those options, then you can say like, all right, this is my daily calorie goal. This is my daily protein goal. Make me a weekly meal plan. Right. And then you can ask it more questions to tailor it to you. So then those are different ways that you can go ahead and take what you're already eating and create meals and essentially a meal plan for yourself that is going to help you to hit your daily calorie and protein goal. All right. This is something that I help my clients do and I talk through with them. So that way it can be more specific and quicker and more streamlined, but there's other ways that you can do it yourself as well too. And then once you have that, then you need to just pay attention to like, how well are you actually hitting your numbers? How are you feeling? Right. Because just because you went online and got a TDEE calculator doesn't mean that's perfect. Right. So go ahead and make sure that you're making progress towards your goal. Make sure that you're not too hungry, not too full, whatever it is. Right. And then the last piece about nutrition to make it sustainable and part of your lifestyle is you need to find strategies that are going to make sense. And I alluded to a few earlier, right? If you're a sweets person, does it make sense for you to have a little sweet every day? Does it make sense for you to just cut it out completely? Does it make sense for you to have one big cookie, cheat meal, whatever it is that you plan for every single week? All right. What we're talking about there is something called calorie banking, right? I use that for when I'm going into social outings because my wife likes brunch or different things on the weekend. So that's something that we will typically do. All right. And that is how you make it part of your lifestyle is you use things like calorie banking. You plan, okay, I'm going out on Friday night. What do I need to adjust leading up to that to make sure I have extra calories? So then that way I don't feel guilty with whatever I want to order when I'm there. Or maybe it's like, okay, I'm just going to look at where I'm going to eat and I'm going to look at the menu and I'm going to pick something out ahead of time so I don't feel tempted to order something else. Both work. It's just a matter of what makes sense to you. But these are the different strategies that you need to pay attention to be able to make it part of your lifestyle. And again, it does require planning. Okay. So that's nutrition. Second big thing is going to be training, right? So you need a minimum of 3 hours of strength training per week. And you can do that 3 1-hour sessions, 4 45-minute ones, right? Whatever makes sense for you at the end of the day. And for me, you don't need to just pick one kind of training split. right? You don't need to follow bodybuilding because that's what I do. You don't need to follow powerlifting because that's what your friend does. You don't need to do functional training because that's what you heard is best, right? Any of them can work. But what we need to pay attention to is what you're doing when you're doing those training styles, right? And so, like Daniel, for example, the guy that we saw earlier, when he started out, I had him doing a bodybuilding mix with powerlifting. But the more he did the powerlifting moves, he fell in love with them. So that's what he ended up doing, is just powerlifting towards the end. And when you saw that transformation, that's all he was doing. He looked fucking great, right? So that's my point, is it doesn't matter what you do, it matters how you do it, right? So here are a few things that matter. The first thing is what actually grows muscle. Well, I'll be honest with you. Progressive overload is important. It's a sign that we are moving in the right direction, but it's not what actually matters most. What actually matters most is the mechanical tension that the muscle that you are training experiences in a given training session. That is what is going to lead to its growth. So it's not the burn. It's not just lifting more weight or more reps. It is, at the end of the day, creating that high level of tension. Now, it's nearly impossible to discern whether or not you've built enough tension just based on feel alone, because you should realistically be feeling a burn halfway through your set, or earlier even on some muscles, because different muscles burn differently than others. That's another conversation for another time that we don't need to get into today. So what you need to focus on is signs that are saying that you are training close enough to failure. And yes, progressive overload can be one of them, for sure, right? But when you're actually, that's a longer term sign. A moment to moment sign, when you're actually in the gym, I want you to look at these three things. The first is that your last reps are slower than your first ones. Okay, that's really key and important. The second one is that you need a minute and a half, 2 minute, 3 minute rest in between sets. Because if you can go 30, 45 seconds later, you are not training hard enough, period. And then the last one that I don't know why it's not in here, but the last one that you really need to pay attention to, I'm blanking. Oh, if your technique breaks down, right? And that's going to lead me to the next point. Yeah. If your technique breaks down, because if your technique's breaking down, that means, like, let's say I'm bench pressing, right? Or let's just say I'm doing a tricep push down and I'm going like this, and my shoulder starts coming over. Then I'm starting to use other muscles to get that weight down. And that is going to be a sign that I am getting close to failure. So when my shoulder wants to come forward in that tricep push down example, focus on keeping it back. Keep pushing to try to get that rep for another 1 or 2, and then go ahead and cut the set. Okay. Because those are all signs, because when the form is starting to break down, that shows that you're getting closer to failure, because a different muscle is trying to help out to get you to complete the reps. So you don't want that extra muscle to help out. You want to keep the tension isolated in the muscle you are training, in that example, AKA the tricep. And to do so, focus on keeping good form, no matter how bad you want to do it, even if you're not going to get that extra rep, right? The gym is a place you are allowed to fail. So welcome it, okay? Now, that all being said is really important, but for a longevity standpoint, for being able to actually effectively grow and stay safe in the gym, you need good form, all right? And like I just said, if your form breaks down, that's a sign that you're training close enough to failure, but you got to have good form to be able to notice that first, right? So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have good form, right? This is something that I can't teach you how to do right now for all the exercises you've been doing. If I wish I could, watch my Instagram content for more of that, right? But ultimately, you need to make sure that you have good form, right? I mean, and like, look, for like Daniel, especially with his powerlifting moves, like, we were doing a lot of video feedback back and forth every single day. It was a different move that he was focusing on, and we were going back and forth about. All right. So that's how I helped him to be able to ensure proper technique. And then also to, like, sometimes, like, you know, some clients can't keep their shoulders down during a lat pull down. Well, that's a sign that your lower traps are inactive, right? So let's focus on some specific exercises you can do to strengthen that area, some specific cues for form, right? So that's where a lot of the growth and learning comes when I'm working with clients, right? Because I just gave you the breakdown of what I'm teaching them to, right? The only difference is I'm giving them a specific plan based on what they say their preferences are, how many days a week they can commit to, yada, yada, time, all that kind of stuff. But then the bigger thing comes to, like, the video feedback for the form, all right? Now, another piece that's important to just touch on here is recovery. All right, because this is important just for an overall health and well-being, right? So from a sleep standpoint, sleep is the most catabolic thing you can do. Catabolic meaning it breaks muscle down and holds on to fat. We do not want that, right? And that happens when you're not getting enough or quality enough sleep. So there's a lot of different things that you want to keep in mind for this. And 8 hours isn't a gold standard. Some people genuinely do get away with 7 or 6 hours, right? But people are different. That doesn't mean that that's you. It could be, but I'm not going to sit here and say it is. There are also people who maybe need 9, right? So take that into consideration. Now, all that being said, the best way if you have bad sleep to help are a few things. The first thing, the most important, the best and most effective thing is to have generally the same nighttime or bedtime and wake up time, right? So if you like clubbing on the weekends, but you like morning workouts during the week, it's going to be tough. Just being honest with you. That used to be me. And so that would be my recommendation. Now I'm in bed generally 9, maybe 10 on a crazy Friday or Saturday night because I'm watching a movie with my wife, right? And up about 5, 6 every morning. Again, even on the weekends, mainly because the dog wakes us up at 6 on the weekends. So those are a few things to keep in mind. I would recommend having some sort of a kind of like a cool down routine for the gym, but like a nighttime routine, right? I like to read for mine. I shut my phone off. I actually have started to try to do 2 hours before bed just to not look at it. And then I do have red lights in the room too. Red light therapy can be helpful for sleep. I'm not going to go into why here. If you have access to it, I would recommend utilizing it, especially if your sleep's not good. But then me and my wife do have red lights because it just helps down regulate us getting into bed. So that's one thing. Stress is really important too, right? But like honestly, like the gym can be great stress reliever. Creating boundaries with work or with toxic people can be great for reducing stress. Beyond that though, go to therapy, right? If you need to talk something out, and make sure you are working with somebody who is actually trying to help you understand why you're stressed and get to the bottom of it. Don't go to a therapist or a life coach that's just telling you what they did, right? They need to be focused on what's best for you. And the last piece is, yes, stretching, right? Tight muscles can restrict movement and limit gains, right? It's not like the most important thing. Obviously, building tension is the most important, but if you're not mobile, then it's going to be harder, right? And stretching is going to help with that. But it's not just stretching, it's also foam rolling, as well as like the massage gun can help. A good deep tissue massage can help, right? But my recommendation I tell my clients is try to get in 5 to 10 minutes of stretching the key tight areas for you whenever you can consistently do it throughout the day. Some of my clients, it's in the morning. For me, it's at night, right? Some it's post-workout because they make time for it. Find a time that makes sense for you. Stretch those key areas. And then pre-workout, make sure that you're doing some sort of dynamic, meaning movement-based warm-up, just for the target muscles. Just get them moving and grooving before you put them under any weight. And then the last piece, this is the most important piece of the whole overarching thing, is consistency, right? So at the end of the day, like, consistency is built through habits, through routines, through systems here, not just through pure willpower, right? Because willpower, I got this from Tony Robbins. Think of him what you will. I've learned a lot of things that were very helpful for me from a mental standpoint and this consistency standpoint. But he does have this point that I think is really, really key. Willpower never lasts, right? You've probably had a lot of willpower, a lot of motivation, as some people will call it, that faded, right? So what you need is, you don't need willpower. You need systems. You need habits that you can rely on that are simple for you to execute. And then the more you follow through on them, the more you do them, the more momentum you will build, and the easier it will be to stay consistent with them. Okay. So that's something that I want you to really keep in mind. So here are some things that I find help creating consistency. The first is lock in a couple meals, right? I eat the same thing more or less every day. I don't expect everybody to do that. But one big thing that I tell a lot of clients, especially clients that are like have partners or have work dinners a lot or whatever, is I say lock in your breakfast, lunch, and snacks. Because if you can get those 3 things to be 80% of your daily protein, 60 to 70% of your daily calories, then you have a lot of flexibility with what you go into dinner, because you don't have a lot of protein to get in still, and you got a lot of calories to play with. All right. Don't overdo it. Don't drink a lot. Don't do a lot of things, right? Don't just eat like a massive dessert every night or something like that, or just whatever, right? Be smart with it still. Make good decisions. Start with the fiber and protein on your plate, but you're going to have more options. So in that way, you don't ruffle any feathers with work or with your partner. Okay. So that's a big thing. And if you can do all of them, all 4 of them, like I do, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, lock them in Monday to Friday, do it. All right. What the advice I gave you earlier on the nutrition, that is going to help you to do it. Second thing, if you're a busy person like myself, I live by my schedule, right? I run a business. I have fitness goals. I have a wife. No kids yet, but I got a dog who's very needy. Love him, but very needy. So I got to schedule my workouts, right? I'm looking at least the day before, like I already know when I'm training tomorrow. I know when I'm training on Friday and Saturday even too, and like what my days are looking like. So I have a plan going into it. So then that way I can block time off, make sure I get it in, and then do it. Okay. So that's going to be one big thing when it comes to training. But another big piece to both the nutrition and the workout side of it is do the stuff you enjoy, right? Like I said with Daniel earlier, for him, we switched to powerlifting because that was something he really, really cared about, right? Okay. Now, how can you actually implement this, right? Like, what are the things you want to think about to make this part of your lifestyle, to really crush your goals and build this body that you want? So how I work with clients, how we do the Beachbody method for them, is the first 90 days is all about habit formation, right? We're building a foundation, right? We're working on their form. We're working on their meals. We're figuring out what makes sense for them. What's their night routine? What is ways that they can get movement in throughout the day? Because one piece I didn't touch on is like overall movement. That doesn't mean just cardio. I use movement very specifically because for some people it's biking, swimming, playing with kids or dogs, just walking like on a walking pad. I just bought one for right here to get more steps in, right? I'm not on it right now, but it's an option. So my point is, at the end of the day, that you need to figure out the right habits. And that's what the first 90 days is all about. And that is where the majority of the work comes into play. I will be honest with you about that. So that's why the first 90 days is all about building those habits. Now, I always make my clients pick a SMART goal, right? So specific, measurable, actionable, forget what the R and the T are. I know one of them is like, you got to be able to like realistic. Yeah, I don't remember what the T is, but you do those 4 things. You got a SMART goal, you're going to be good. All right. But really, like what I tell them to do is like, what is a goal? All right. Do you want to lose? Like, is your goal more a look? Okay. Let's focus on a strength goal on certain areas that you want to improve. And let's focus on sometimes it is a actual weight goal on the scale, or body fat percentage if they have that. Sometimes it's just, I just want you to hit all your meals. I want you to plan for your social outings, and I want you to hit all your meals. That's the win, all right? So that's as simple as it can be sometimes, all right? And then that is going to build the momentum towards it, because when you are building those habits, when you're getting that down, and when you hit your first goal within that first 90 days, you're going to feel really good about yourself. That is where a lot of the confidence is built, right there. Let me say it right now, not at the end, during the process. And that's going to make you feel pretty damn good. All right. So that's the first 90 days. Now, the second 90 days is where things get a little bit more complicated, because usually this is the time where you're starting to hit a plateau, both potentially in weight loss and strength, right? So this is where it gets tough, right? You're already doing a lot of the things. You got the habits down, but now we maybe need to play with how you approach your workouts, right? You have been doing this for a while. You're stuck on this. Let's play with this, right? This is where we play and adjust. Not with your habits are set. Your habits are foundation. But this is when we adjust small little things with your calories, your movement, your exercises, to slightly turn dials. So then that way we figure out what makes sense for you to see that true transformation now. All right. Because at the end of the first 6 months, all right, the end of the first 180 days, that is when you can see a true life-changing transformation. I'll be honest, not going to happen in the first 90 days, but the foundation is laid to be able to do it. You can learn almost everything you need in that first 90 days to ultimately build that body. But it really isn't going to come until that second 90 days, which is going to get you to 6 months. All right. So that is where we're going to make a lot of the small changes that are going to lead to the true transformation. Because we've already got momentum. As we get little wins with making these, then we see what really is working. And that's when you're starting to make the true transformation. But learning what dials to play with, what dials to potentially change when you are in this second 90 days, that's how you not only learn to build it, but that's how you're going to learn to continue to make progress thereafter, right? So that's a big, big thing that happens, is now you're actually learning how to maintain it, how to, honestly do it on your own. if I'm being completely honest, when I'm working with people in that first 6 months, they can learn how to do it on their own for sure, right? And a lot do, all right? And go off and do it on their own, and we celebrate that. But there are a lot of people who also like accountability, who also like to go farther, right? But that first year, right? That second 6 months, that's when it's really becomes part of your lifestyle. Because if you're in a full year, you're dealing with your birthday, you're dealing with travel, you're dealing with busy times at work, you're dealing with holidays, right? You're dealing with circumstances that you didn't expect to hold you back, like, you know, whatever it may be. All right. I don't want to get into anything negative, right? But you see where I'm going. And then also sometimes our goals change. All right. Maybe you were super focused on getting super lean like Daniel here. And then you're like, all right, cool. I got this lean goal down. I want to go hit a high rocks. I want to go build strength. Right. So this is when goals can start to change and we can start to morph into becoming more of this person if you want to. Right. If not, sometimes people just boom, like I like this. I just want more of it. I want more defined abs. I want bicep veins bulging from my arms, whatever it is, right? And so within that first year, that's where the lasting transformation really comes into play, because you're upping the ante, essentially building and continuing to build on the foundation that you've already laid, right? So that's what it looks like when I work with clients for the first 90 days, 180 days, and year, right? Now, if you've made it this far, then I got a funny feeling that you actually want to see changes in your body and you actually want to improve yourself. So I got an offer for you. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what you get first, and then I'll tell you about the guarantee and how I work, right? So what you get working with me is you get fully customized nutrition and training plan. All right. So all those things I talked about, how you can go out and do it yourself, I take care of that for you. And you have my knowledge of working with hundreds of clients already, working with people that are getting paid to play sports right now, as well as people that were in their 60s that are just trying to get mobile again. Right. I've worked with both ends of the spectrum and everything in between. So you get that experience creating this and helping you make these decisions to streamline everything. The second thing is we get every 2 weeks, we're doing one-on-one coaching calls. So we're getting ongoing feedback. We're focusing on certain things. The first week, it's nailing the nutrition and the form. The first month, it's continuing to fine tune the form, how you're approaching your sets, how consistent are you? What do we need to do to make you and help you to be more consistent, right? You get video form reviews from me as well. So in that way, like we get a lot of dialogue. I usually assign a couple different exercises that are based on what you want to focus on and grow. And then we create a dialogue back and forth. And maybe you have the form down, but then we start focusing on, all right, next week, go for control. Okay, good on the control, good on the form. Now see how many more reps you can do. Okay, you hit the top end of your rep range with good control, good form, sweet, add more weight. And then we create a dialogue like that. And that's what helps people to learn and also know what are things they can do when they do hit a plateau, because that's what we're really paying attention to, right? And all this is going to be to help you to build a system that fits your lifestyle, all right? Because I'm never going to tell you to live, never going to tell you how to eat. All I'm going to do is take where you're at, meet you there, and then we're going to make small changes to how you go about deciding what you're going to eat, how you plan your week, right? To make room for both your life and your fitness goals. Okay. So the guarantee that I'm giving for you, because you made it to the end of this, is if you don't lose, and honestly, I'm going to say 10 pounds, but if you have a different goal that you want, and most clients that I've actually brought on have had a different goal, but at a very least, let's make this 10 pounds one a goal in the first 60 days, or whatever goal it is that you want in the first 60 days. Maybe that's just being consistent. Maybe that's learning good form. Maybe that's getting stronger. Maybe that's hitting a bench number or whatever number that you want, right? Then I am going to, we're going to get you to hit that goal. And if we don't, then I'll give you every dollar back and I will work with you until you do hit that goal. All right. But it's going to be something we agree upon which is driven by you. But if you want to lose 100 pounds in 60 days, no, I'm going to say it's not realistic. But look, too, this is a no pressure call. This is a strategy call is what I want you to think about it. So I'll give you more specifics on what you would get or what you need to focus on based on everything we've talked about here today. And I'm going to give you actionable advice. And I don't work with everybody. I really don't. I turn people away all the time because honestly, and if you're a career-driven person that works with clients, you'll understand this. I don't want to work with people that aren't a good vibe for me. I don't want to work with people that don't want to grow. I don't want to work with people that are just going to make excuses, because it's hard enough to make these transformations without those things, right? And I don't want to bang my head against the wall for somebody like that. So if you're a career driven person, you're serious about leveling up in every area of your life, especially your health and fitness, book a call. It's no guarantee that we're going to be a good fit, but I guarantee that you will learn what you can do to start changing your body. So link's going to be in the comments. Let me know if you got any questions here or on Instagram, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.